forward, the U.S. military showcasing precision and power in the Middle East is taking action against Iranian Navy ships in the Strait of Hormuz in order to keep those shipping lanes open for oil and other cargo. As we get a new update from CENTCOM on Operation Epic Fury. Good morning, I'm Dana Perino. Bill Hemmer is off today. Hello, great to have you again.
Good morning and good to be with you once again.
Thank you.
I'm Bill Malugin. This is America's Newsroom. All of this coming as CENTCOM obliterates 16 Iranian mine-laying boats in the Strait of Hormuz. This is putting the focus on a critical waterway where 20% of the world's oil passes through. This display of American firepower coming after President Trump warned the Islamic Republic against planting explosives along the key trade route for energy supplies. In the meantime, Israeli forces also continuing their operations. They've launched a new wave of intense airstrikes on Beirut and Tehran.
And as the campaign unfolds, CENTCOM just moments ago given a sense of the sheer scale of Operation Epic Fury and how it's diminishing Iran's military.
Every day, we're striking hard at Iranian ballistic missile and drones. To date, we have struck more than 5,500 targets inside Iran, including more than 60 ships using a variety of precision weapon systems. Just yesterday, we had strike waves nearly every hour from different locations and directions going into Iran. We also took out the last of 4 Soleimani-class warships. That's an entire class of Iranian ships now out of the fight. I'd characterize our strikes as being unpredictable, dynamic, and decisive. Since the first 24 hours of this campaign, Iranian ballistic missile and drone attacks have dropped drastically. But it's worth pointing out that Iranian forces continue to deliberately target innocent civilians in Gulf countries while hiding behind their own people as they launch attacks from highly populated cities in Iran. We are methodically dismantling them by hitting Iranian missiles and drones as we also strike their defense industrial base. Just last night, our bomber force hit a large ballistic missile manufacturing facility as an example. So it's not just about what's shooting at us today, it's also about eliminating the threat in the future. Now, let me show you a few of the results from the tremendous efforts by America's joint force. Here, you see an Iranian Jamaran-class warship, a large patrol ship, a drone smuggling vessel, and 4 other surface combatants docked at Chabahar port in the Gulf of Oman the day before we launched Operation Epic Fury. Here's the same pier 4 days later, all ships taken out of action. This Bayandar-class surface ship was hit and rolled on its side. Here's another example. Here you see 2 Iranian surface combatants docked at an Iranian naval base near the Strait of Hormuz, just hours into the campaign. And here's what they looked like 3 days later, engulfed in flames after we struck them with a precision weapon.
So there's all that, plus we have extensive coverage. Rich Edson is at the White House, Steve Harrigan at the Iranian border, and Senate Intelligence Committee Chairman Tom Cotton is here. But first, let's get to Trey Yingst. He's got a live report from Tel Aviv. Good morning, Trey.
Dana, good morning. As this war develops, there is a renewed focus on the Persian Gulf amid new incoming Iranian attacks that targeted both Qatar and the UAE earlier today. 2 Iranian drones striking just outside of Dubai's international airport, and also a look at the Strait of Hormuz, where we know that the United States overnight launched new strikes against 16 different Iranian vessels responsible for laying sea mines. According to the Wall Street Journal, at least 10 of these mines were deployed by the Iranians, and overnight President Trump warned the regime that there would be significant consequences if they continue to stop the flow of global oil. Now, today, we do know the Iranians are still launching attacks not only against Gulf countries, but also against U.S. ally Israel. More sirens overnight here in Tel Aviv, sending hundreds of thousands in Tel Aviv into bomb shelters. We've heard similar sirens throughout the day with missile interceptions overhead, and Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu making new remarks about the success of this joint operation.
We are in a campaign against a cruel enemy that wants to destroy us. We crushed their nuclear and ballistic capabilities in Operation Rising Lion. Afterwards, instead of learning the lesson, they tried to redevelop them and bury them deep underground in such a way that we could no longer target them.
With the Israelis looking east, they're also looking north to the Dahian neighborhood of southern Beirut. You can see some intense airstrikes taking place there overnight, going after Hezbollah positions. Israeli forces also moved a key brigade from inside Gaza, the Golani Brigade, to their northern border in preparation for more offensive action. I do want to just bring your attention back to the Iranian capital of Tehran, where funerals are being held today for Iranian commanders. This really gives you a sense of just how devastating these U.S. and Israeli strikes have been against the Iranian regime. The people you see in the streets of Tehran here are supporters of the regime. Those who are against it are still afraid to enter into the streets of their country. But again, so many funerals taking place as these American and Israeli strikes are decimating the leadership of the Islamic Republic. Bill, Dana?
All right, Trey Yingst, thank you for that report. We'll pay attention to everything you have to say as the day goes on.
And we are also joined by Rich Edson, who is joining us from the, live from the White House this morning. Hi, Rich.
Hey, good morning, Bill. Well, the White House is trying to reopen the Strait of Hormuz and prevent Iran from laying mines there. Concerned the Iranians were going to do just that, U.S. Central Command sent this out, quote, U.S. forces eliminated multiple Iranian naval vessels March 10th, including 16 mine layers near the Strait of Hormuz. President Trump added that the United States has no reports of the Iranians laying mines, but, quote, if for any reason mines were placed and they are not removed forthwith, the military consequences to Iran will be at a level never seen before. Iran has effectively closed traffic through the strait. It's a narrow conduit between Iran and Oman, where about a fifth of the world's oil and gas travels, or at least used to. That and Iran's attacks on oil infrastructure in the region have pushed up oil prices. The Trump White House has floated ensuring or escorting tankers through the strait, though the military has yet to escort any. The White House also says the administration has temporarily permitted India to accept Russian oil that was already at sea despite sanctions against it. Interior Secretary Doug Burgum says the International Energy Agency should consider releasing some of its reserves.
When you have a temporary transit problem that we're resolving militarily and diplomatically, which we can resolve and will resolve, this is the perfect time to think about releasing some of those to take some pressure off of the global price.
It's unclear if the administration would tap the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Oil markets are also focused on exactly how long this conflict will last.
The president and the U.S. military's initial timeline was about 4 to 6 weeks to achieve the full objectives of Operation Epic Fury. Again, to destroy their missiles and their ability to make them, destroy their Navy, permanently deny them nuclear weapons forever, and to, of course, weaken their evil terrorist proxies in the region.
Now, the White House press secretary says this operation will end when the president determines that those objectives have been met. Bill?
All right, Rich Edson live at the White House this morning. Rich, thank you.
For more on this, let's bring in Republican Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas. He's the chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, which sometimes makes it difficult for him to tell us everything that he knows. And I know you can't because some things are classified. But how would you characterize America's ability right now to push back against the Iranians and keep that Strait of Hormuz from getting closed down completely?
Well, Dana, as you've heard Pete Hegseth and Chairman Dan Kane say, our military campaign is proceeding very successfully so far. We have seen Iranian rates of fire of ballistic missiles fall by almost 90% from the first days of the war. But there are many days left ahead of us. This is a methodical, deliberate campaign to destroy Iran's missile and drone arsenal, its ability to manufacture them in the future, to ever have nuclear weapons, or to threaten the Strait of Hormuz. And President Trump has been crystal clear, we will not allow a radical, revolutionary regime in Iran to threaten one of the world's most strategic and vital waterways. That's one of the reasons why we had to start this campaign in the first place.
Senator, some of your colleagues in the Senate, they come out of these classified briefings and they're all doom and gloom, right? They say there's no strategy, there's no goal, they don't know what the U.S. is doing. You're in these same briefings with them. There's two realities coming out of these briefings. What are your thoughts when they come out and they go on TV and you're hearing from them something very different than what you're seeing?
You know, Bill, Iran has had what you might call a Yosemite Sam strategy from the very beginning. They've just been shooting at everyone all around them, trying to threaten the world economy, trying to get Arab leaders to call Donald Trump and plead for peace. Instead, they've been calling and asking for targeting coordinates. Iran has succeeded in uniting the entire civilized world against its revolutionary regime, except for two groups, the Democratic Party and the liberal media. They seem to be rooting for our troops to fail and rooting for Iran to withstand this campaign. I can tell you that in these classified briefings, the briefers are very clear. They share as much information as they have. Not all the information is available. We can't tell you exactly how many launchers Iran has left for its missiles. We can't tell you exactly how many missiles or drones it has left. But it is a deliberate, methodical campaign that is making tremendous progress. There may be tough days ahead, but it's making great progress. And the president's been very clear about those goals, about destroying the missiles and the drones, destroying the nuclear program, keeping the Strait of Hormuz open, and ensuring that Iran can no longer put a chokehold on the Strait of Hormuz or the civilized world by its support for terror and other outlaw actions.
One of your another Democratic colleagues, Senator Blumenthal, he came out and talked about fears, as he described it, of Russia and Chinese involvement in this conflict against the U.S.
As disturbingly as anything else, the specter of active Russian aid to Iran putting in danger American lives. Literally, Russia seems to be aiding our enemy actively and intensively with intelligence and perhaps with other means, and China also may be assisting.
And we know that President Trump did speak to the Russian president. Anything more you could add to that?
Well, Dana, I can't confirm or deny intelligence reports that Russia or China might be helping Iran with targeting details, for instance. But I can say it sounds like the kind of thing they would do. Soviet Russia did this throughout the Cold War. Putin's Russia is no different in this regard. I would say that right now, if you hear what he's been saying and posting on social media, it's probably not a good time for another country to be messing around with Donald Trump. I'm sure he conveyed that to Vladimir Putin. I'm sure his senior officials like Marco Rubio and John Ratcliffe have been conveying it to their counterparts as well. Russia and China, if they were to provide any assistance to Iran, are playing with fire.
Senator, we understand you've just sent a letter to the Department of Energy. You want some answers on the Biden administration's siphoning and withdrawing of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve back in 2021, 2022. Can you fill us in on that?
Yeah, Bill, it's just another example of how the Democratic Party is not serious about the threats from Iran. Back in 21 and 22, when the Biden administration and congressional Democrats had unleashed record inflation, their solution was to draw down the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. That reserve was not designed to help Democrats out of a political jam of their own making. It was literally designed and created after the oil shock in the 1970s. Yet we don't have enough oil in the reserve right now. We even had a proposal during the debate over COVID pandemic relief legislation to buy oil when it was only about $20 or $25 a barrel. Chuck Schumer blocked that because he didn't want to have any profit going to the oil companies. Guess what? They don't make a lot of profit at $20 and $25 a barrel. So you see this repeated pattern over the years of the Democrats playing politics with the oil and gas industry, basically trying to shut it down, using the Strategic Petroleum Reserve for their own political benefit, and now we simply don't have enough oil there.
Senator Cotton, it's always good to see you, and thank you for giving us your time.
Thanks, Senator.
Our audience appreciates it too. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.